Today we'll again continue with the historical background topic of M. Lakshmikant. And how's your preparations going on? Is it going good?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Sir.
So shall we start with the lecture?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay, fine. So let us start. This is the second lecture of Polity and Governance. In this lecture, we'll cover few more topics of the historical background of our constitution. Okay, fine. Can anyone tell me what we have covered in the last class? Anyone?
Chapter
Sir, what is polity, government?
Okay. So what did you learn about Regulating Act of 1773? If you had to describe it in a single line, what would you say?
Sir, centralization the first step thila.
Yes, very good. And what about Regulating Act of 1813?
Sir, abolition of trade monopoly.
Yes, very good. So I have felt that I have missed out a few topics of Charters Act of 1813. Today, first I will cover those things, and our approach will not be just limited to M. Lakshmikant. We'll also cover anything which has relevance to our examination. Okay, let us start. Charters Act of 1813. Last time I haven't covered the education part. Okay, so this time I'll start it. In Charters Act of 1813, there was a provision of 1 lakh rupees annually for improving the status of education in India that were to be spent in the education sector of India. But till 1813, it couldn't be decided on which aspect it should be spent. Okay. So what was the controversy? So Governor General in Council has appointed a General Committee of Public Instruction in 1813 to resolve the issue. Okay. And that was headed by Lord Macaulay. This committee was meant to advise the Governor General in Council on which aspects the 1 lakh rupees should be spent. So here comes the Orientalist Anglicist controversy. What do you mean by Orientalist? Anyone?
Sir, Europeans.
No. Orientalists are the ones
Western view
who are the supporters of Eastern cultures. Okay. So in the General Committee of Public Instruction, Lord Macaulay was the chairman, and there were 10 members. Okay. Out of them, they were divided into two groups. One were Orientalists and one were Anglicists. Okay. So Orientalists were arguing that Western sciences and literature should be taught to prepare students to take up jobs, and emphasis should be placed on the expansion of traditional Indian learning. That was their logic. And what did Anglicists say? As per them, it should be done. The medium of instruction should be English, and we should adopt the Western model of education. So finally, Lord Macaulay prepared his minutes on 1835. and he favored his judgment in the favor of Anglicist. That the limited government resources were to be devoted for teaching of Western sciences and literature through the medium of English language alone. And their logic was based on this downward filtration theory. Can anyone tell me what is this downward filtration theory?
Sir, similar to white man's burden ଯେମିତି ଗୋଟେ theory ଆସିଥିଲା କି
ନା ଏଟା ସେମିତି ନୁହେଁ. Downward filtration theory ମାନେ society ର ଗୋଟେ limited portion को ସେମାନେ educate କରିବେ और ସେମାନେ ଭାବିବେ कि ସେମାନେ educate ହେଇଲା ବେଲେ gradually ସେମାନେ mass को educate କରିବେ. So government ଆଉ ମାନେ mass education ଉପରେ emphasize କରୁନାହିଁ ହେଲା. A few English schools and colleges instead of large number of elementary schools, thus neglecting the mass education. Okay. Only a few English schools and colleges were established. And what would be the reason? To create a section of Indians who will be Indian in blood and color, but English in taste, opinion, moral, and intellect. So they will act as an interpreter between the government and the masses. The basic purpose of education was not to spread the education among the masses, but to create a section of Indians who will help them in administration. Fine. Then we will go to Charter Act of 1833. This is the final step towards centralization of India. It has begun in केबे start ହେଇଥିଲା centralization?
Regulating Act 1773.
Regulating Act of 1773 centralization start ହେଇଥିଲା. ଯେତେବେଳେ governor of Bengal को governor general of Bengal designate କରାଗଲା ତାଙ୍କ under ରେ Bombay और Madras presidency को ରଖାଗଲା. Okay. So Charter Act of 1833, what did it do? It made the governor general of Bengal as governor general of India and vested in him all civil and military powers. And Lord William Bentinck was the first governor general of India. Remember this one. It deprived governor of Bombay and Madras of their legislative powers. Earlier, Bombay and Madras presidencies were used to exercise legislative powers, but from this act onwards, they were deprived of that power. The Governor General in Council was given exclusive legislative rights for the entire British India. And the acts which are passed before the passing of Charter Act of 1833 were now termed as regulations, where the laws which are made after this Charter Act of 1833 were termed as acts. तो माने होची कोनटा 1833 Chartered Act रे बॉम्बे और मैड्रास प्रेसिडेंसी रा लेजिस्लेटिव पावर रहलानी आ सेमाने आगुरी जहा भी लेजिस्लेशन करथिले सेगुडा को रेगुलेशंस कहला आ ए एक्ट पर चार्टर एक्ट ऑफ 1833 पर जे सब लॉज गुडा करा गला सेगुडे को एक्ट कहला. So it was the final step towards centralization of British India. Is it clear, all of you?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And one more thing, this one. It ended the commercial activities of East India Company and it became a purely administrative body. In 1813, the monopoly of trade of East India Company was abolished. But from this act onward, East India Company has become purely an administrative body, devoid of any kind of commercial functions. And one law member was added to the Governor General in Council. Which council is this one? So the co-council, Governor General karo. It is Executive Council, okay? Executive Council. जोटा कि हमें Chartered Act of 1773 रे पढ़ुଥିଲେ, okay? And one law member was added to this council. And this Charter Act of 1833 attempted to introduce a system of open competition for selection of civil servants, stating that Indians should not be debarred from holding any place, office, and employment under the company. That of open competition. आगुर जो इंडियन सिविल सर्विसेस रो ऑफिसर्स माने थिले से माने केवल ब्रिटिशर्स और यूरोपियंस माने ही थिले से माने इंडियन नथिले एटा प्रपोज कला कि सिस्टम ऑफ ओपन कंपटीशन करे पे बट दैट वाज नेगेटेड आफ्टर ऑपोजिशन फ्रॉम द कोर्ट ऑफ डायरेक्टर्स. कैन एनीवन टेल मी व्हाट वाज द मैंडेट ऑफ कोर्ट ऑफ डायरेक्टर्स?
सर कमर्शियल फंक्शन करेबो.
Yes. 1784 Pitt's India Act. Next. So let us solve this question. Which one of the following provision was not made in the Charter Act of 1833? Take some time and answer this question.
सर डी.
Okay. So let us solve. The trading activities of East India Company were to be abolished. It's already written. East India Company has now been reduced to a purely administrative body rather than a commercial entity. This is correct. The designation of supreme authority was to be changed as Governor General in Council. Yes, correct. All law-making power to be conferred on the Governor General in Council because Bombay and Madras presidencies were not devoid of their legislative powers. And D, an Indian was to be appointed as a law member in the Governor General Council. Can you tell me why it is wrong?
Sir, not an Indian.
Yes, very good.
Not only.
Indian, can anyone tell me when was an Indian introduced in the Governor General's Council for the first time?
Sir, Charter Act 18 Executive Council.
केबे फर्स्ट टाइम जने इंडियन इंट्रोड्यूस हेले गवर्नर जनरल को काउंसिल ले एज ए लॉ मेंबर. दिस इज डेफिनेटली रॉन्ग.
सर चार्टर एक्ट 1853 रू
ना
सर जो एसपी सिन्हा तो
एटा
सर 1909 एसपी सिन्हा.
ओके
1909 sir.
yes parliamentary reforms. Next, Charter Act of 1853. This is about separation of power. What do you understand by separation of power?
Separation of judiciary from executive.
Separation of legislative and executive powers.
जुडिशियरी तीनटा पार्ट को सेपरेट करिवे.
ठीक अच्छे हेले एठी खाली एग्जीक्यूटिव और जुडिशियल पावर को सेपरेट करा है. एग्जीक्यूटिव एंड लेजिस्लेटिव. इयरलियर हमर कोनटा थला गोटे गवर्नर जनरल कर एग्जीक्यूटिव काउंसिल थला तारो बोथ एग्जीक्यूटिव एज वेल एज लेजिस्लेटिव पावर थला. हेले इथे कोनटा हला फर्स्ट टाइम पे सेपरेशन ऑफ पावर डॉक्ट्रिन आसला. It provided for addition of 6 new members called legislative councillors in the council, and that was to be known as Indian Central Legislative Council, and it were to function as a mini parliament adopting the same procedure as in the British Parliament. Okay, तो गोटे Indian Central Legislative Council ला फॉर्मेशन कराला 6 जन मेंबर को नहीं तार प्योरली लेजिस्लेटिव फंक्शन से रहिला as it is in the parliament. Next, it has introduced for the first time local representation of Indian in the legislative council. माने बुझे परिबो. Okay, out of the 6 legislative members, 4 will be appointed from the local provincial governments of Madras, Bombay, Bengal and Agra.
Agra.
Okay. ये जो provincial governments गुड़ा थिला ତା ଭିତରୁ ଜଣେ ଜଣେ ଆସିବେ ଏଇ ଯୋଉ 6 ଜଣ ଥିଲେ ତାଙ୍କ ଭିତରୁ 4 ଜଣ ଆସିବେ ଏଇ ପ୍ରୋଭିନ୍ସିଆଲ ଗଭର୍ନମେଣ୍ଟସ୍ ଗୁଡାକରୁ, but not necessarily Indians. Okay, that doesn't mean that local representation doesn't mean that representation of Indian. Okay, and it has introduced an open competitive system of selection and recruitment of civil servant. It was first proposed in Charter Act of 1833, and in Charter Act of 1853 it was accorded. The covenanted civil service was thus thrown open to the Indians. Accordingly, Macaulay Committee on Indian Civil Services was appointed. Note it down, Macaulay Committee. Can anyone tell me what do you mean by a covenanted civil service? Covenanted civil service माने कौन?
रॉयल सर्विस,
सर जो
रॉयल इंडियन सर्विस।
ना, covenant माने होची agreement. ସେତେବେଳେ ଇଷ୍ଟ ଇଣ୍ଡିଆ କମ୍ପାନୀ जो मैंने सर्वेंट्स थे से वर्ल्ड रो सबुठु वेल पेड थे, तो सेमाने गोटे एग्रीमेंट बेसिस रे आसुथले इंडिया को सर्व करिया हला। तो सर्विसेज को डिवाइड कराइतला कोवेनेंटेड सिविल सर्विस एंड नॉन कोवेनेंटेड सिविल सर्विस। कोवेनेंटेड सिविल सर्विस माने करो जेंति सैलरी पेंशन्स एवरीथिंग थला सब, तो सेमाने नॉर्मली आईसीएस ऑफिसर्स जो माने थिले इंडियन सिविल सर्विस ऑफिसर्स सेमाने थिले कोवेनेंटेड सिविल सर्विस रे रहउतले। और नॉन कोवेनेंटेड सिविल सर्विस रे मोस्टली लोअर लेवल क्लरिकल पोस्ट उडा थिला जोडा कि नॉर्मली इंडियन माने करूथले। तो covenanted civil services जोटा कि higher civil service that was now thrown open to the Indians also.
सर गोटे क्वेश्चन थी
सर टिके आउथरे कहंतु
जो ऑल इंडिया सिविल सर्विसेज तो जो तीनटा जेमती एबे जेमती तीनटा रहै ऑल इंडिया सिविल सर्विसेज से गुड अपनी कोवेनेंटेड माने कोआ होथिला आ बाकी सब को अनकोवेनेंटेड कोआ होथिला। तो
सेते बेले एते डिटेल्ड क्लासिफिकेशंस नथिला, नॉर्मली आईसीएस जोडा थिला इंडियन सिविल सर्विस सेटा को कोवेनेंटेड कोआ होथिला।
ओके सर,
ओके, आ जोडा लोअर सर्विसेज गुडा थिला सोडा को नॉन कोवेनेंटेड कोआ होथिला। नेक्स्ट, who among the following governor generals created the covenanted civil services of India known as Indian Civil Service? Anyone?
Sir, Cornwallis.
Yes, very good. Lord Cornwallis was the first to bring into existence and organize the civil services. Lord Cornwallis कंटा करथिले ना separation of power डिस्ट्रिक्ट लेवल आनिथिले, तो से डिस्ट्रिक्ट मजिस्ट्रेट रो जुडिशियल एग्जीक्यूटिव पावर को सेपरेट करथिले लॉर्ड कॉर्नवालिस। नेक्स्ट, Wood's Dispatch of 1854. This is known as the Magna Carta of English education in India because for the first time they have made such an elaborate preparation for educating the Indian masses. It was felt that government should assume the responsibility of educating the masses, thus repudiating the downward filtration theory. तमाने downward filtration theory टा failure हैला बोली accept करनेला, so government should take up the responsibility of educating the masses, and it has systematized the hierarchy like this. First, in the first hierarchy, there will be vernacular primary schools. What do you mean by vernacular?
Local language.
लोकल,
Yes, very good. So in primary schools, the medium of instruction will be in the local languages. And next, the Anglo vernacular high schools and affiliated colleges at the district level. The district level is जोड़ा रहिबो सेतरे Anglo vernacular medium रहिबो, both English as well as local language. And affiliating universities as presidency towns of Calcutta, Bombay and Madras. It recommended English as a medium of instruction for higher studies and vernaculars at the school level. लास्ट आगु जो थिला हमर ओरिएंटलिस्ट एंग्लिसिस्ट कंट्रोवर्सी एटा फाइनली तारो रीच कर गेला कि ना वर्नाकुलर से करबा स्कूल लेवल रे और हायर स्टडीज करबा हायर स्टडीज तो इंग्लिश मीडियम में करबा. It laid stress on female as well as vocational education and teachers training. It has recommended a system of grants in aid to encourage the private enterprise. What do you mean by grants in aid?
सर जो फंड प्रोवाइड करिवा.
Yes, some kind of financial support. So let us attempt this question. The aim of education as stated by Wood's dispatch of 1854 was
C.
C.
Sir D.
very good. C रे एटा केमति होबा?
Medium
Proper
to
literacy among
language.
people using English medium. एटा तो नहीं ना, एटा वर्नाकुलर मीडियम रे होबा. कहना masses को जो education provide करा हुआ that will be imparted in the vernacular medium. Okay. So answer is C. Answer is D. The Wood's dispatch of 1854 was considered. It recommended English as a medium of instruction for higher studies and vernaculars at the school level. This will be provided to the masses. Okay. Next. Regarding Wood's dispatch, which of the following statements are true?
A.
Sir A.
Sir A.
Yes, yes, sir.
ए सर.
A, sir.
Very good. C रे grants in aid तो introduce कराया गया to encourage the private participation, establishment of universities at presidencies, and medium of what will be the medium of instruction at the primary level? It will be vernacular. At the secondary level and higher secondary and college level, it will be Anglo vernacular, and at the university level, it will be English. Fine. So this statement is wrong. So now we arrive at the answer. Okay. Wood's dispatch recommended that primary and secondary education should be in the vernacular language. Wood's dispatch था हमारा evolution of historical background रे सब part गुड़ा नथिला. Just because छोटा previous year UPSC रे include ହେଇଛି सेतपै मो हम curriculum रे include भी कर देले. Okay. এটা purely history based ଜିନିଷ गुड़ा तले और relevance रहुची कहना इस जिनिषर start होची हमर charter chapter हि सेतपै उडा मो include कर देछि. Next. Consider the following statements about the Charter Act of 1813. It ended the trade monopoly of East India Company except for trade in tea and trade with China. It asserted that the sovereignty of British Crown over the Indian territories held by the company. The revenues of India were now controlled by the British Parliament.
सर ए.
Thank you. Explain.
Sir C.
Sir C.
Explain करो. Why A and why C?
Sir, ଏଇଟା ଯୋଉ revenue ଟା ସେଇଟା
Statement
ପରେ
one, if you doubt no, because we all know that the trade monopoly of East India Company was abolished in the Charter Act of 1813. Fine. The statement 2 of 3 without doubts. See, the revenue of India were now controlled by the British Parliament. It is true or false?
सर फॉल्स अब.
sir local government को माने taxation ପାଇଁ.
No, no, सेटा नहीं. It was revenues were now controlled by the British Parliament. 8 statement.
थर्ड था सर,
कौन ला
थर्ड स्टेटमेंट तो
सर जेतेबेले ईस्ट इंडिया कंपनी का ट्रेड मोनोपोली से मैंने बंद कर देले तर तापरे से मैंने डायरेक्ट कंट्रोल कर रेवेन्यू टा ब्रिटिश पार्लियामेंट
the East India Company, that was still an administrative body. Okay.
Sir,
Sir,
only
local
1 and
government
2 habo.
sorry.
1813 रे ईस्ट इंडिया कंपनी ट्रेड मोनोपोली टा अबॉलिश कराला. 1833 रे कोन कराला?
सेंट्रलाइजेशन कंप्लीट
1833 ईस्ट इंडिया कंपनी रो कमर्शियल फंक्शन टा अबॉलिश कर दिया, राइट?
Yes, sir.
यस सर.
The answer is A. Okay. So let us see the explanation. As per 1813 Act, the monopoly of East India Company in trade with India was brought to an end, but the company retained the trade with China and trade in tea. Okay. The company's shareholder were still getting 10.5% of dividend for all the revenues that were generated in India. By this act, the company was put under the greater control of British Crown, but it could still retain hold on the details of administration and Indian revenues. It was in the Act of 1853 that East India Company was purely reduced to an administrative body devoid of any commercial activities. तापरठू ब्रिटिश पार्लियामेंट
ये जिनसटा कोड नुचे देथिला बोधे स्टेटमेंट रो नथिला माने ए जो जिनसटा सर से एक्ट रो नथिला तो
ना एक्ट नथिला हमको होलिस्टिकली पढा पड़ियो कि 1853 एक्ट ही पढा रहै छै हैला. ठीक है. Next, this is how the East India Company has gained territory across India. 1765, this is in the aftermath of Battle of Buxar. They have got this Bengal province and the northern Sarkars. This is 1805. They have got this northern Sarkars, Carnatic region, Mysore, Awadh, and this Bengal. In 1857, at the time of Sepoy Mutiny, this was the reach of East India Company. So let us start. The Crown Rule. What was the reason for Crown Rule?
Sir,
Why has
Sepoy
the-
mutiny.
सर.
Yes. This act was enacted in the wake of revolt of 1857, also known as the First War of Independence or the Sepoy Mutiny. This is known as the Act of Good Government of India. This act declared Queen Victoria as the sovereign of British India. As per the Queen's proclamation, the era of annexation and expansion has ended, and British promised the respect and dignity, the right and dignity of the native princes. Why did British do this? British ने कौन एटा कले कौन पे एटा कले कि annexation policy of annexation और expansion को बंद कले और dignity और rights of native princes को preserve कले.
Sir, to suppress the revolution.
Yes. Princely states माने at the time of 1857, they are holding around 40% territory of India and around 23% of its population, and they have played an instrumental role in suppressing the revolt of 1857. So, to act as a buffer against any kind of uprising, the Britishers have tried to preserve the dignity and rights of the native princes, and they have stopped the era of annexation and expansion. Now, the Indian states were now henceforth to recognize the paramountcy of British Crown and were to be treated as part of the single church. Okay. What is this paramountcy of British Crown?
Yeah, supreme power.
British crown is now sovereign, and princely states are now the subjects under this British crown. Have you heard of this term, lapse of paramountcy?
No.
Okay.
No, sir.
Paramount power meaning कौन कि ब्रिटिश क्राउन होला sovereign और ता अंडर रे ब्रिटिश इंडिया भी रहला प्रिंसी स्टेट्स माने भी रहले प्रिंसी स्टेट्स आर नॉट sovereign तापर डिफेंस सेक्शनल अफेयर कम्युनिकेशन सब दिको ब्रिटिश क्राउन ही हैंडल करियो सेवन चाहे इंटरनल एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन पार्ट हैंडल करिवे ओके लैप्स ऑफ paramountcy एटा स्टार्ट होला एट द टाइम ऑफ इंडिपेंडेंस इंडिपेंडेंस टाइम रे कोन होला ब्रिटिश क्राउन sovereign है कि रहलानी तो प्रिंसली स्टेट मान को ऊपर आगुर थिला क्राउन जे कि sovereign थिला ओके ताको ऊपर थिला क्राउन जे कि sovereign थिला एबे क्राउन ता हटि गला और दीटा इंडिपेंडेंट नेशंस हे गले गोटा हला इंडिया हला गोटा हला पाकिस्तान तो सेते बेले अराउंड हमर 565 प्रिंसली स्टेट्स थिला ओके एट द टाइम ऑफ इंडिपेंडेंस तो लैप्स ऑफ paramountcy माने sovereign पावर पळेला एबे तांको पहरे चॉइसेस रहिला either to join India, Union of India, either to join Pakistan or to remain independent. That is what lapse of paramountcy means. Fine, बुझा पड़ला? Is it clear? Okay. Paramountcy माने कोनटा हला फर्स्ट कि ब्रिटिश क्राउन होची सॉवरेन पावर ता अंडर ब्रिटिश इंडिया जति रूल होची तो इंडिया रे कोन अराउंड 60% ब्रिटिश इंडिया रूल को ब्रिटिश माने रूल करथिले around 40% territory rule करथिले नेटिव प्रिंसेस लाइक द स्टेट ऑफ बड़ौदा मैसूर हैदराबाद रे निजाम एडा सुनी थिबो से सबति को प्रिंसेस स्टेट्स माने थिले हला तो एमपी अराउंड 565 प्रिंसेस स्टेट्स माने थिले तो सेमानकर सोवरेन माने ब्रिटिश क्राउन सेमान पय गोटे सोवरेन थिला सेमान ता अंडर ही आसुथिले ओके तो जेतबेले इंडिपेंडेंस हे गला ए लैप्स ऑफ paramountcy लैप्स हे गला हला और दीटा नुवा इंडिपेंडेंट नेशंस क्रिएट हे गला इंडिया और पाकिस्तान ओके तो तांका पाखर ऑप्शंस रहला either to join India or to join Pakistan or to remain independent okay ये बुझा पड़ला
Yes, sir.
This act of 1858 now promised freedom of religion without any interference from the British officials. What did they do it? Because they thought that interference in the freedom of religion of people in the name of social religious reforms was one of the main cause of Sepoy mutiny. सांगो सेडा लागला सेपने सेमन आउ रिलीजियस रिफॉर्म्स रे आउ सेमन इंटरफेयर कले ना ओके इट हैज चेंज्ड द डेजिग्नेशन ऑफ गवर्नर जनरल ऑफ इंडिया टू द वाइसरॉय ऑफ इंडिया लॉर्ड कैनिंग became the first viceroy of India. Who was the last governor general of India?
Lord Canning.
Yes.
Lord Canning.
Yes. Next. It ended a system of double government. What was the system of double government? That is
जो
Board of
बोर्ड
Control
ऑफ
and
कंट्रोल
Co-Directors.
Court of Directors.
Board of Control थिला को पार्ट देखुथिला
Administrative.
Administrative.
पॉलिटिकल
Political
पार्ट
affairs.
देखुथिला ए मान देखुथिला कमर्शियल अफेयर
Commercial affairs.
तो ये दीटा पार्ट को अबोलिश कर दिया हला and whatever they created in its place they have created an office of Secretary of State for India vested with complete authority and control over the administration and this Secretary of State for India is a member of British cabinet and one 15-member Council of India has been formed to assist this Secretary of State okay Secretary of State of India को करा हला जे कि ब्रिटिश कैबिनेट रे जने मेंबर थे जने कैबिनेट मिनिस्टर रैंक रे थे आउट काउंसिल ऑफ इंडिया फॉर्मेशन कराला जे कि असिस्ट करिवे सेक्रेटरी ऑफ स्टेट फॉर इंडिया. फाइन. नेक्स्ट. Who was the Governor General of India during Sepoy Mutiny?
B, sir.
Lord Canning.
Yes, very
B.
simple. तो लॉर्ड कैनिंग से टाइम सिपाही म्यूटिनी टाइम रे गवर्नर जनरल ऑफ इंडिया थिले और जेतले क्राउन टेक ओवर करनेला पावर को से हे गलो वाइसरॉय. नेक्स्ट. What was the object of Queen Victoria's proclamation of 1858, which is also known as the Act of Good Government for India?
सर बी.
A हबो सर A.
सर ए होगा.
Sir, A.
To disclaim any intention to annex Indian states. Eta first thila tankara objective. Okay, we have always studied about it. So this statement is correct. To place the Indian administration under the British Crown, definitely East India Company ro administration abolish he gala aur British Crown take over karnela. To regulate the East India Company's trade with India, it is no more in existence. Okay, so the answer is A. Next. Try this question.
सी ऑप्शन सर.
कौन होगा?
ऑप्शन सी सर.
Anyone else? Anyone else? Okay. So let us start. The Act of 1858.
ए होगा सर.
Yes, very good. The answer is A. So let us start. Charter Act of 1833. 1813. What did it do? It has abolished the trade monopoly of East India Company. Okay. So this is linked to this. Act of 1858. What did it do? This. The power to govern was transferred from East India Company to the British Crown. Okay. So what will be the answer? And the Regulating Act of 1773. What did it do? This one. Company's director were asked to present to the British government all corresponding documents relating to the administration of the company. In Peace India Act of 1784, one more setup, that is Board of Control, was established. So the answer is A. Okay. Clear? All of you?
यस सर.
Yes.
Indian Council Act of 1861. If we are to define this act in a single line, what would you do?
ମାନେ decentralization ର start ହେଇଥିଲା.
स्टार्टिंग सर बी से.
Starting of decentralization.
फर्स्ट स्टेप टुवर्ड्स डिसेंट्रलाइजेशन.
Portfolio system. Portfolio system introduce होला. Okay. पोर्टफोलियो माने कोन
जो डिफरेंट
different
मिनिस्ट्री डिपार्टमेंट वाइज डिवाइड करबा
यस तो सेमती गवर्नर जनरल का जो एग्जीक्यूटिव काउंसिल थला तदर प्रति काउंसिल मेंबर मान को गोटे गोटे पोर्टफोलियो रे इंडिपेंडेंट रिस्पांसिबिलिटी दिया गला लाइक फाइनेंस कमांडर इन चीफ से टाइप रो सो दिस वन इट हैज मेड the beginning of representative institution by associating Indians with the lawmaking process. It thus provided that the viceroy should nominate some Indians as non-official members in his expanded council. तो viceroy कर जो council जोटा थिला executive council तादरे किछटा इंडियन मानो को इंट्रोड्यूस कराला executive ने legislative council रे किछटा इंडियन मानो को non-official member हिसाब रे इंट्रोड्यूस कराला ओके In 1862, Lord Canning, the then viceroy, nominated 3 Indians to his legislative council. That is, the Raja Banaras, Maharaja Patiala, and Sir Dinkar Rao. They are the first Indians who were introduced in the legislative council of British Raj. It has initiated the process of decentralization by restoring the legislative powers of the Bombay and Madras presidency. এটা কেবে বন্ধ করা হয়েছিল বম্বে ও মাদ্রাস প্রেসিডেন্সির legislative part को कोच अट्रैक्ट
regulating act 1773
ना ना 1773 तो तंकर legislative power थिला तंकर legislative power को केबे abolish करा हला
सर गवर्नमेंट ऑफ इंडिया
1833
एबे संगे संग पढ़ै छै
सर 1833
1833 sir.
এটা কোন লেখা আছে এটা তো ओके So it has reversed the centralizing tendency that has started from the Regulating Act of 1773 and reached its climax under the Charter Act of 1833. In 1773, the Bombay and Madras presidencies were placed under the administrative control of Bengal. And in Charter Act of 1833, the legislative powers of these presidencies were abolished. Okay. So this is the first act which has reversed the centralizing tendency. Complete माने ब्रिटिश इंडिया रे जेते सारा एक्ट फॉर्मुलेट करा हेछि सेंट्रलाइजिंग टेंडेंसी माने कंप्लीट डिसेंट्रलाइजेशन केबे हेतिला
सर जो 1935 रे गवर्नमेंट ऑफ इंडिया
यस 1935 गवर्नमेंट ऑफ इंडिया एक्ट ओके सेतरे प्रोविंशियल ऑटोनॉमी हे गला केना प्रोविंसेस गुडा को डायरेक्ट क्राउन रु पावर एबे नबा को स्टार्ट कले ओके यस This policy of legislative devolution resulted in grant of complete internal autonomy to provinces in 1937. It also gave recognition to the portfolio system. I have already explained what do you mean by this portfolio system by Lord Canning in 1859. Under this, a member of Viceroy's Council was made in charge of one or more departments like finance, commander-in-chief, like that. It empowered the Viceroy to issue ordinances without the concurrence of the Legislative Council during the emergency. The life of such ordinance was 6 months. Can anyone explain me about this ordinance? Ordinance माने कौन?
सेटा पार्लियामेंट रो कोनोसी भी सेशन कोनोसी भी हाउस
Okay. Correct. Parliament रे जेतले कोनोसी भी हाउस जेतले सेशन से न थाए किछि इमरजेंसी पे ऑर्डिनेंस निया जाय. Okay. With the approval of president in case of parliament and with the approval of governor in case of state legislatures. Next. Which of the following act of British India strengthened the Viceroy's authority over its Executive Council by substituting the portfolio or departmental system in corporate functioning?
Sir,
A.
A, sir.
1861.
Yes, sir.
Okay, fine. Indian Council Act of 1861 transformed the Viceroy's Executive Council into a miniature cabinet run on portfolio system, and each of the 5 ordinary members were placed in charge of a distinct department of the Calcutta government. Indian Council Act of 1892. First Indian man का representation कोड start हितला Central Legislative Council रे 1861 रे, right?
1850.
Yes, sir.
80 हला ना 80
1853, sir.
1853, sir. First time local
80 start
representation.
हला ना first local representation 1851 रे start हला ना 80 the local representation Indian man का representation मुस्तर कौन थिला not necessarily Indians ताकर चारटा provinces थिला Bombay Presidency, Agra, Madras, Bengal. ସେମାନେ ତା ଭିତରୁ ଜଣ member को आनले. That doesn't mean that they are Indians. This is the first time Indians were introduced in the law making process. Fine. It increased the number of non-official members in the central and provincial legislative council, but maintained the official majority in them. It increased the functions of the legislative council and gave them the power of discussing the budget and addressing questions to the executive. The legislative council member मानको ए दीटा power दिया हला, power of discussing the budget, but not voting the budget. Budget को discuss करी परिवे, हेले vote करी परिवे नहीं. And addressing questions to the executive, but not supplementary questions. Okay. And it provided the nomination of some non-official member to the Central Legislative Council. So it is nomination D type ro. First time देखिए Provincial Legislative Council. In Provincial Legislative Council, the members will be nominated by the governor. Nomination, not election. Okay. On the recommendation of district boards, municipalities, universities, trade associations, jamindars, and chamber of commerce. Based on the recommendation of these bodies, the governor will nominate few non-official members to the provincial legislative council. And what is the process of nomination in the Central Legislative Council? In Central Legislative Council, Viceroy, on the recommendation of the Provincial Legislative Council, Bengal Chamber of Commerce will nominate a few members to the Central Legislative Council. Is it clear, Halata? All of you? Is it clear? Yes. Provincial Legislative Council governor nominate karibe based on the recommendation of district boards, municipalities, universities, trade associations, jamindars and chambers of commerce. तापर Central Legislative Council को Viceroy nominate karibe on the recommendation of this Provincial Legislative Council and Bengal Chamber of Commerce. ताकर power केवल एतिकी ही थिला, power of discussing the budget and addressing question to the executive. The Indian Council Act 1892 had which of the following provisions? Anyone?
Sir, only 2 options.
There is only 3.
Sir, C.
So let us start. The members got the right to discuss the budget. This is correct. The budget could now be voted upon and member can suggest amendments. No, that cannot be voted upon. I have emphasized while discussing it. Okay. And member cannot suggest any amendments. Then Central Legislative Council has official majority. This is correct. Non-official members were elected to the provincial legislative councils. No, they are not elected. They are nominated. Provincial legislative council केमती nominate होतिले? Can anyone explain me the procedure?
By the recommendation of university and other board द्वारा माने तांको recommend जो करथिले nominate governor.
Yes, governor nominate करथिले. The term election was nowhere mentioned in this act. So, two options are correct. एमती questions discussion कलाठो class ठीक रहउछ त?
Yes, sir.
ना खाली
Yes, sir.
theoretical. So, any doubt regarding today's class?
सर 1830 रे जो तंगा मोनोपोली ट्रेड मोनोपोली टा अबलिश कर देले ता परे भी रेवेन्यू टा ईस्ट इंडिया कंपनी पाखर रहला कि ब्रिटिश इंडिया पाखर रहला
सेतेबेले रेवेन्यू तार एडमिनिस्ट्रेटिव फंक्शंस त रहिला ना, राइट? सेतेबेले ईस्ट इंडिया कंपनी रो एडमिनिस्ट्रेटिव फंक्शंस रहिला, इंटैक्ट रहिला, हला? एटीन 1833 एक्ट रे कोनटा हला कि ईस्ट इंडिया कंपनी रो कमर्शियल फंक्शन टाको अबलिश कर देला, बट इट वाज स्टिल एन एडमिनिस्ट्रेटिव बॉडी. ओके, तो एडमिनिस्ट्रेटिव बॉडी माने ता पर रेवेन्यू कलेक्शन पावर थिला.
ओके सर.
तो मु प्लान करूची कि हमर जति क्लासेस होची जते प्रीवियस ईयर यूपीएससी क्वेश्चंस अराउंड मतलब 1995 टू पर्यंत अराउंड 300 टू 400 क्वेश्चंस रहबो. जति प्रीवियस ईयर ओपीएससी क्वेश्चंस रहला प्लस जति प्रोबेबल क्वेश्चंस रहला, तो ऑलमोस्ट 1000 पाखे क्वेश्चंस प्रैक्टिस करियर मु टारगेट रखुची. विल इट बी ऑल राइट और हमें अलग किछ मेथोडोलॉजी यूज करबा?
ठीक है सर.
सर आपण जागो
कहला
आपण जोटा
सर ए में
कना पॉलिटी रे मते लगे नरेशन बेसिस रे पढिबाटा ठीक रहइबो. आज मु जो वुड्स डिस्कस सेगुडा सुते पढेली सेगुडा को पॉलिटी सहित रिलेवेंस नाही, हेले सेगुडा को चार्टर एक्ट रु सेगुडा को ओरिजिन हेची और तारी बेसिस रे यूपीएससी रे क्वेश्चंस भी पचरा हेचे. ओके, तो एबे हम डिस्कशन करूचे इजी रहउछ क्वेश्चन सॉल्व करिया को, हेले एग्जाम हॉल ले सेटा अटेम्प्ट कला को डिफिकल्ट रहे, सेतल डाउट्स रहे. सेत में एबेठु ही हम क्वेश्चंस प्रैक्टिस कर दो जेति की इंपोर्टेंट एरियाज रहिछि सब दिको हम कवर कर नेबा और जेते मैक्सिमम परिबा क्वेश्चंस प्रैक्टिस करिबा. यानी सेमथि हेले सब्जेक्ट रो अंडरस्टैंडिंग बेटर रहइबा ना कि रोट लर्निंग डायरेक्ट खाली थ्योरी बेसिस रो माने पढा पढी करबाटा.
सर क्वेश्चन डिस्कशन भी करिबो.
मु से ही एम्फसाइज करू छी कि हमें क्वेश्चन डिस्कशन करबा. एवरी क्लास में टारगेट रखबा 10 टू 15 क्वेश्चंस डिस्कस करबा पे और मोस्टली हमें ट्राई करियो प्रीवियस ईयर यूपीएससी क्वेश्चन आउ ता सहित किसी प्रोबेबल क्वेश्चंस, राइट?
यस सर.
Yes, sir.
तो हमर क्लास रे जेंति अप्रोच रहउछ ठीक रहउछ ना आउ किछि चेंजेस हमें करि परियो क्लासेस रे?
ना सर ठीक है सर.
नो सर.
ठीक है सर.
और कौन से भी डाउट्स रहउछ प्लीज फील फ्री टू डिस्कस इट विथ मी, नॉट जस्ट विथ पॉलिटी, एनी सब्जेक्ट मु पढि परिबी. एनी सब्जेक्ट रे किछि भी डाउट्स रहउछ यू पीपल कैन कंसल्ट मी. और पॉलिटी रे हमर अप्रोच एमती रहिबो कि हमें मोर और लेस हमें यूपीएससी लेवल प्रिपेयर करि जिबा. ओके, कि ओपीएससी रे यदि किछि डिफिकल्ट क्वेश्चन रहला सेटा भी अटेम्प्ट करि परिबा और इवन यूपीएससी रे भी जेंति सब पॉलिटी क्वेश्चंस करि परिबा. ओके, आउ मु जेंति फर्स्ट क्लास रे कहितली कि ओरिजिनल कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन सेटा मु आज शेयर कर देबी ग्रुप रे. ओके सेटा को रखिथा रेफरेंस पे जेतला हमें आर्टिकल्स पढिया स्टार्ट करिवा फ्रॉम सिटीजनशिप फंडामेंटल राइट्स सेते बेले से सब जिनसटा हमें फॉलो रेफर करिवा स्टार्ट करिया ओके और नेक्स्ट क्लास रे मु ट्राई करूची कि हिस्टोरिकल बैकग्राउंड पार्ट टाको कंप्लीट कर दबा हमें गवर्नमेंट ऑफ इंडिया एक्ट 1909 1919 तापरे साइमन कमीशन राउंड टेबल कॉन्फ्रेंसेस क्रिप्स मिशन ऑगस्ट अफर कैबिनेट मिशन एंड इंडियन इंडिपेंडेंस एक्ट एथि का हमें ट्राई करबा कि नेक्स्ट क्लास रे कंप्लीट करबा और तार रिलेवेंट जेते क्वेश्चंस अछि मॉडर्न इंडियन हिस्ट्री हो पॉलिटी हो सब कंप्लीट करे पे ट्राई करबा और तापरे एवरी क्लासेस रे मु भाबुची गोटे क्वेश्चंस रखियो मेंस पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू रो प्रैक्टिस करे पे फाइन
Yes, sir.
yes sir.
Okay, sir.
नाउ कि हम अप्रोचेस रे चेंजेस करि परिबा so how is the
Sir,
class so how is today's class aji class केमथि रहला
गुड सर
क्लास एक्सीलेंट थिला
Excellent, sir.
ଭଲ ଥିଲା ସାର୍
सर बहुत भल लागला क्लास टा
thank you
ଆପଣ ଯୋଉ କହିଲେ ଯୋଉ
Sir,
ଆପଣ ଯୋଉଟା କହିଲେ ସେଇ ଆପ୍ରୋଚରେ ପଢିଲେ ଠିକ ହବ
मो अप्रोच सबले सेमति रहबो हमें फर्स्ट जेति कि रेलेवेंट थ्योरी सेति पढिबा कवर टू कवर पढिबा ही नाही ओके जेति कि रेलेवेंट पढिबा जो टॉपिक गुडा को बेसी इंपोर्टेंट विल रीड बिटवीन द लाइंस जो टॉपिक इंपोर्टेंट नाही विल स्किप देम ऑल टुगेदर फाइन एबे हमर हिस्टोरिकल बैकग्राउंड रहला एटा मॉडर्न इंडियन हिस्ट्री इंट्रिकेटली लिंक्ड ओके हमें पढि सरला परे I mean, you people find it easier to even solve modern Indian history questions from 1857 to 1947 because most of the questions are asked based on this acts only. Okay. तो तापर हमें जो पॉलिटी कवर करिबा किछटा चैप्टर रहला लाइक पार्लियामेंट से गुडा को इन डेप्थ रे पढिबा ओके आउ जो चैप्टर गुडा को टिके कम रिलेवेंस रहउची से गुडा को स्किप करिबा ओके जेति की दरकार सेति की पढिबा आउ हमरो फोकस रहबा कि जते मैक्सिमम क्वेश्चंस प्रैक्टिस करिबा ओके thank you Pujalin
sir ये क्लास रो पीडीएफ एटा
वीडियो तो YouTube रे अपलोड हे जो हमें डिस्कशन हमें पॉलिटी रो टोटल हम अप्रोच रहइबो कि हमें एटा गोटे इंटरैक्टिव क्लास करिबा और पार्टिसिपेटिव करिबा रूट लर्निंग ऊपर हमें फोकस करिबा नाही केवल थियोरेटिकल सेट माने वन वे कम्युनिकेशन रहइबो सेमति जेमति न हो एंड दैट वुड बी माय अप्रोच हमें एवरी क्लासेस रे 10 to 15 क्वेश्चंस करबा और गोटे मेंस पे भी गोटे आंसर राइटिंग रे भी गोटे क्वेश्चन रे रखिबा ओके फाइन यस सर shall we call it a day
यस सर
Yes, sir.
thank you all of you
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
थैंक यू सर नमस्कार